the end of 1943, I was called into the army and spent my first 2 months in Holland. Then was transferred over to Denmark, and training plus we were located at the beaches of Denmark. After that there was more training and stuff like that. I went back to school within the armed forces, or so I saw, but actually was only training in other jurisdictions on the same level. And from there I went to Russia. That was when the German forces already retreated, so I wound up more or less more in Hungary than in Russia. You know, what you call strategic withdrawal. In other words, you didn't have enough left to put up a good defense, you know, because at the same time the Allied forces, they started to land in the Normandy, and I was lucky that we were pulled out, and we were sent to the west, which was at that particular time the Normandy. But by the time we reached, actually before we even reached the Normandy, we lost all our equipment, which means heavy weapons and stuff like that. And so we were pulled out again, re-armed, and we prepared for, which we naturally did not know, for the large offensive infantry, which is most, that is the army actually, and the rest, they've been brought in, say there was a big battle or anything like that. In that case they would bring in then those SS divisions, and but they would be only in for 2 or 3 days, and then they would be pulled out again, right? They might have had big losses or non-losses, but they would only be in there for 2, 3, 4 days, and then being pulled out. But we had to stay there for weeks. You know, that is a different thing, you know. And they were naturally, their equipment was much better than ours. They get always the newest. Not that we had old garbage, you know, this was not the case, but compared with them, they were naturally all completely motorized. We were not. You know, only when we needed the trucks, then they were sent and we would be shipped from there to who knows where. And most of the transport was done by rail, you know, in cattle cars. I'm talking really in cattle cars. I never believed that anything could happen to me. I believed that even when I was captured, that nothing happened to me. But it just so happened that when we went back to the American lines, that the German artillery opened up, and that's when I was wounded. But besides that. And then, but what my real injury was, which I did not know, was I had frozen feet. I never got my boots off for, oh, I would say 4 weeks, you know, in relatively cold, you know, in the, this is the part of Germany which is laying higher, you know, the Eifel, and it's much colder because of the heights, you know. So a lot of people wound up as frozen limbs one way or the other. And it was an exceptional cold winter. Normal thing, there's a squad, which is about 9 people, but we were about 8. And we were just walking along and see where the Americans are, right? Where the only difference was, don't forget, after a while you don't really see somebody behind every tree anymore. You know, you have to either be normal or else you belong to in a mental institution. So we were just walking along there. And next thing you know is, we're running into an American patrol, which was about 100 people. And they were on both sides of the road. Now, you talk about that in the country, right? With the snow on the ground, and the ditches on the side, they had about, oh, maybe half a centimeter of ice, and 3 shots and 3 were dead. So we jumped into that icy water, and by the time we reached there, they were already, most of them were laying there. So there was only 2 of us which got into the ditch. And I said, okay, I'll see you later, you know, let's get out of here, right? This is getting too hot, right? So I was on the way back, and then he cries, you know, I got hit. So I go back and I want to bandage him. He was shot in the stomach. And actually now in the water, shot in the stomach, I couldn't do nothing. So I stayed just with him. And then the next thing is the American standing on top of it. And come on, boy. And I said, okay, can we get this guy? And he's going to die anyway, leave him there. So we start to walk back to the American lines, you know, but we had to cross a huge field, you know, wide open. That's when the German artillery opened up. And I got a little bit scratched then too. So the next thing you know, I've been in interrogation, shot, frozen feet, no breakfast in the morning. I was in a rotten mood, you know. Not that I was scared, I knew it. They were not going to shoot me, you know.